Oops.
Here we go. There. An error could wait a moment and then try again. Okay. But it says we're live. Very confusing, Linda. You are now live. Yes, thank you. So,
Live, yes.
yeah.
I'm alive anyway.
Welcome. This is Linda and I again here for making shifts in March. And last week we were having a look at creating movement forward. This week we're having a look at what holds you back. So, really, if you're wanting to make that move, and we specifically speaking for this conversation, we've aimed it at entrepreneurs, people looking to move potentially from employment into their own business, but is very applicable across the board in terms of the what holds you back. So no matter what decision in life you're having a look at making, there are certain things that are in common with this specific topic that would hold you back. So welcome to our live, and please, at any point, if you have any questions, then just pop them into the chat so that Linda and I can see it and we can answer it. And hopefully you're going to gain some insights with regards to what holds you back when you're making decisions like this. And I think Linda's got a brilliant story to share because she made the big move from corporate into her own business. So, Linda, do you want to share with us a little bit about what happened for you, specifically what held you back from making the decision, maybe for how long it held you back before you actually made the jump?
Right. Yes, thank you, and welcome to all our viewers, listeners, and we hope that you find this an interesting topic of conversation. So it's best to start with that story, right, Jade? Because it does, then people will start to either align with the story or have one of their own. So mine started after effectively 35 years in the banking industry, climbing a ladder, achieving a lot, getting to a senior management position. When one day I had this feeling that this just wasn't quite enough for the rest of my life, and that waiting for retirement, it just seemed like it was going to be a very hard road. So, and I won't go into all the details, but suffice to say, there was a decision, or there was a thought process that said, right, what can I do next? If it's not in this industry that I've been in forever, if it's not in this along this career path that I've had forever, what is it? What is this next? What is going to sustain me, my family, into the future? So, the idea of entrepreneurship came along. I certainly did a great deal of investigation before making the leap, and that's sort of one of the steps that I always recommend people take. Don't just leave and then figure it out. It's a lot better idea to continue earning a salary while you figure it out, right? And you can put some money away for your future. And then, some months went by, a lot of conversations were had, a lot of research was done, and I came to the conclusion that I really wanted to do this. I wanted to get out. I remember using the words, I'm done. I'm like done. And I'm sure that maybe resonates with some people. I've heard it since many times from others who've made the leap. I'm done. I'm just done.
And normally you actually past done.
Yes, you're past done. So whatever the reason, you make this statement, I'm done, right? And I had these ideas of what was going to be next, and eventually came to a conclusion that I like the idea of business coaching. I'd done my research. I'd investigated it. I was done some financial number crunching, and I was kind of ready to make the move. But what were the things that were holding me back, do you think, Jade?
Well, I can imagine it was the security of knowing that you're having an income on a monthly basis, potential benefits that you have worked so hard for all of these years, just being the two off the top of my head.
Yeah, thank you. And exactly that, right? So let's say pretty decent salary, bonus each year, decent amount, something that you could put away towards a holiday or a car or pay off your bond kind of money, shares in the company. And I was coming up on a 15-year anniversary where you get like, special recognition and
yeah.
and a little gift or so. So these are all the things. And bonus time, I'm thinking about this sort of October, November in the 1 year. Bonuses are like March. And typically everyone goes, oh, I'll just wait until my bonus is paid and then I'll do it, right? Or I'll just wait for my shares to get to the point where I can cash them in and then I'll do it. So, or I'll wait for that 15-year anniversary and then I'll do it. So all of these were some of the shackles, the corporate shackles, as they call them, that hold you back, these long-term incentives, these short-term incentives, the salary, all of that. So definitely money and the security of that monthly amount coming into your bank account was something holding me back. The other one you mentioned was, I guess, was it safety and security, right? These are sort of,
yeah.
So some of the, even just the basics of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Safety and security are there. And the other one is belonging. So here you go every day, get in your car, go to the office, pre-COVID times. You arrive at the office, you have coffee with somebody, you chat to somebody, you find out what they were doing, you're in meetings with them, you bouncing ideas off each other, you maybe fighting about something. But there's this activity and this engagement, and you're not alone. And now stepping out of that into entrepreneurship, or especially if, like myself, you're going to do it alone. You're not sort of stepping into a setup where you've already got employees and a group behind you. You're just going to do it alone. Is quite daunting, because who do you know was the big question that I had. Who do you know? Who do I know?
Yeah.
I only knew literally bank people, and my family, and a handful of friends, right? So who am I going to be in touch with? Who are my clients likely to be? Who am I going to spend time with, etc., etc.? So definitely belonging. Can you think of any other ones?
Well, there would be some also the satisfaction, potentially losing a certain amount, because what achievements you've worked your way up, and you're attached to your achievements and what you've created there. So, and the satisfaction that potentially gives you. So, this I can also see starting to become the deeper layers. So yes, the money and, the bonuses are the obvious things. But then when we start tapping into the belonging, and what does the belonging give us, and everything that all my accomplishments over all of these years, what does it mean when I let this go?
Exactly.
Who am I?
Yeah, who am I? Who am I
without these things?
Yeah, quite right. You got to a point, I got to a point, I'd done a supply chain qualification, I'd done some analytics sort of qualifications, I'd done, banking type things as the training as the years went by. And then you're going, but what use is this going to be? All that time and effort invested into that, all the time and effort invested into your team, all the time and effort invested in producing reports for, the organization. As you say, it's like, am I happy just to let it all go? And those were questions. Certainly that achievement one, right? Because now you, as you say, you've achieved so much. And generally, you've got to a level where there's a high level of respect for who you are and what you've managed to achieve. Hopefully, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And now you're going to give that up as well. You're going to just walk out of that, or this is what you're saying to yourself. I'm just going to walk out of all of that. I'm going to leave this place. I'm going to leave all that safety, security, belonging, and I'm going to start from zero in every way. And that, I don't know about our listeners, does that scare you if that was your story, or if you've had a story like that? We'd love to hear it. Does it scare you to just say, let it go? Or are you kind of person who goes, nah, I'm out of here. I'll start again. Great if you are, right? If you're a risk taker, if you're someone who's done it and continues to do it. But I'm not that much of a risk taker, and it was very scary to do that. Like, where's the support for that? Jade, have you come across other people like this, or you yourself? Where would you look for support in making this decision?
Well, so in making the decision, I would say you would need to have a look and see, do you know somebody who's done it? Do you, have a mentor potentially in mind that you could connect with that would support the process and the thinking behind it? For me, knowing what I know now, looking back, those are the things that I would say. At the time, I wasn't quite lucky enough to have the choice. The universe just kind of kicked me out. So it was then the choice of, do I, of losing my job, do I look for another one which is going to provide me stable income, or do I take this as, Jade, it's now or never, and you've got to make it work on your own. So looking back at my story, I leaned into a networking organization eventually, but I had to become dependent on people that I knew to start helping me when I was just kind of thrown out to the wolves. So, definitely, I think if you're in the position where you are looking to make the move and you have this choice that you can make, and it is a difficult one by any means, not downplaying that, to really, I think, look at people and if you don't know people, then find people that you can talk to that's going to support you, that have been through a similar process, that would really be able to mentor you in where you're at in terms of your thinking, and what are the next steps, what are the next relevant steps that come up.
Yeah, that's awesome. We've got a couple of comments here. Do you want to?
Yes. So first, Clarissa is with us. And she said, even though it's hard to let go, sometimes you have to change your plan to your goal. It's scary, but necessary. Absolutely. And that's stepping into that. Just do it, Linda, as you said. And then Kevin is with us. So hello, Kevin. Thank you for being here. No fear, have a plan and follow it. So very important, having a plan. Linda, I think you're very good at having plans.
Yep.
And then we have Laurie, and I know that she's making a big move. She says, yes, it was very scary. I gave a 6-week notice on Monday, and I'm walking away from a great job and excellent stable income to live out my goals and dreams full time. Scariest choice I have ever made. Yeah.
Laurie. Wow. Yep. You know what? I've never looked back. It's 3.5 years later, and I'm saying it was the best thing I ever did. It is very scary, and especially those first few months, as you say. I literally started with the zero income, and then zero income, and then a few $100 and so on and so forth. But it finally gets in. The important thing that Jade said is ask for help. From anybody or everybody, from your husband, from your partner, from your friends, from a network. I also joined the same network that Jade's part of right at the beginning, and it was absolutely critical in building up the confidence, giving me the practice ground to try out new marketing techniques, the information and the learning that was just not available, or I didn't know where to look for it. And people were like, try this and do this. And what about this? And I've done that. Really, without that, I think the process would have been a great deal slower. But one of the other things, just back to the question of saying what is holding you back, we've covered a few things for those who might have joined us late. The safety and security of working for a company, the belonging and the challenges and achievements that you've attained over the years, and saying who am I really now. And then there was another one that I was thinking of now is is the future opportunity, right? Are you just giving up something that was just about to turn into an amazing opportunity for you, and the people that you knew, and now you going to be walking away from these people that you maybe have developed good relationships with and so forth. So you start from scratch developing new relationships with people, and that can be scary if you're not outgoing, if you're a typical introvert. You've been in a comfort zone. So that comfort zone, I was definitely in a comfort zone for many, many years, for 35 to be exact. This was easy. It wasn't easy, but it was an easier life, not thinking about running a business and employing people and worrying about where the income is coming from and so forth. But that's exciting in itself, and it's a new opportunity and a new challenge, and you move from there. So some of these corporate shackles, I'm just trying to think if there are any more, if you guys can think of any more that are holding you back. We'd love to know about it. But let's say like Laurie, you've got to that point, or just before, I mean, Laurie's made that leap, but now you're much further back in this. Maybe you're listening to us and saying, it's not the right time now. I've got young children. I've got to get them through school. It's important that I keep this steady income. I'll plod along for a bit longer, and I'll maybe have my side hustle where I just do some work on the evenings and weekends. And then eventually I'll move out of corporate. Maybe when I'm close to retirement age, I'll move out and I'll go and go full time into this business. I think that's quite a typical one. So what I'm going to suggest is start planning for that as early as you can, right? Some of us, like Jade, unfortunately didn't have time to plan. Laurie probably had time to plan. I had enough time to plan. And so, as Kevin says, if you've got a plan, it makes it a whole lot easier. But plan, I mean, it's kind of anticipating what could happen. And I think COVID has thrown us all into that situation where we know that our jobs are not necessarily guaranteed for life.
I actually wanted to say, Linda, it's actually a bit of an illusion, the security in the jobs these days. I think we fool ourselves in believing, yes, there's certain things that bring about more stable, it's potentially a more stable environment, but I do think it is a bit of a illusion, the security of a job.
Well, I want to ask you a question, though. There's a lot of talk about purpose and your life path and your, what you should be doing with your life. Maybe it's just a topic of conversation for this day and age. But do you believe that people should be following, as far as possible, a path that is in line with their values and their vision and their passion? What are your thoughts on that, Jade? Just to take a side.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I think a lot of people maybe overthink their purpose, like it has to look a certain way and it's got to be big and it's got to be beautiful and it's, but for me, what purpose does is it fulfills you. And that is what then pulls you into the future, because when I'm fulfilled and I'm following my purpose and I'm in alignment with it, then I get pulled into the future and I can do anything. So for me, yes, absolutely. And it doesn't have to look like, I don't know, helping the needy and doing all of these big things that we seem to think purpose could be waking up each day and living a happy life with my family. That's my purpose. It literally can be that simple. You just need to know what it is, so that you know what you're working for. So, in work, there's a lot of people that love working for companies, that love
Correct.
working for bosses.
Correct.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. You can, and this has been an interesting thing for me to have a look at since I've been on my own, is that for me, entrepreneurship can be developed. I never ever thought that I would be an entrepreneur, not in my entire life.
Same here.
And thrown into the boat, and here we go. I'm developing the skills and I'm getting the competencies, and here I am 7 years later. So for me, it's definitely something that can be developed, and you can bring it into your company and be an entrepreneur
Like
in
that
the
one. Yeah, exactly.
company, and be doing wonderful things. And it doesn't have, and this is the thing, is it doesn't have to look like something specific. What is it for you, and what do you need to do that? So for me, just on the purpose thing, yeah, absolutely. What would you love to wake up for every morning? I would say that's sort of taking you in the direction to indicate what your purpose might be, and then do that. Find a way
Right.
to do that.
And you know that I've got this grow with Glee
Yes.
philosophy, right? A Glee philosophy. For those who don't know, it's grow, learn, empower, and enjoy. But is it just an acronym? No, it's actually who I am. It's in line 100% with the things that are important to me, the values that I have. And by everything I do, by lining it up against this philosophy to test, is it helping me to grow? Am I learning something new? Am I having an impact, inspiring, mentoring, helping others? And am I having fun? Am I enjoying it? Am I wanting to wake up to do this every day? If the answer is yes, then I'm exactly in my purpose, right? Doing exactly what I want to do. And I celebrate that. I'm sure you guys know. I celebrate that with my Glee jar. Well, get it under
There we go. Yeah.
by taking these little pieces of colored paper. And when one of those sort of gleeful things happens, writing the date, putting a note down, and then storing it for a while. And a few months later, or in winter, I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about winter being my downtime. Winter is that time to reflect and refresh. And so I empty it out and I read all the stuff that happened in the summer months. And I go, wow, look what I did, look what I achieved, look how far I've come, look what I learned. And I keep a record because Linda is a planner and a storer. So I keep a record now for the last 3 years. And at the beginning of the year, I'll look back. And I looked back to a year ago and thought, my goodness, what have you learned and how have you grown? And then some of these scary things that we were talking about, for example, appearing on video and talking to an audience on a live platform less than 2 years ago, I was scared of doing that. Absolutely petrified of doing that. Why? Not because I can't talk or because I lack confidence, but I was so worried about what my hair looked like and was the
What
background
do
okay?
people think?
What will
Will they
people
like
think?
me?
Yeah, will they like me? And those, I think people will share a lot of that. But today, less than 2 years later, it's more comfortable. It's less of an issue because you tried something, you learned something new, it became less scary. And we haven't really talked. We've talked about them, but we haven't categorized them as limiting beliefs. But this is an example of one, right? That am I perfect? Is this perfect? Will people like me? Is a fear that you run when you, especially if you're in some kind of online environment or direct face-to-face engagement with your clients. So Jade is a specialist with these kind of things. Tell us a bit more about how do we overcome limiting beliefs, Jade?
Well,
What
for
steps do we
me,
need to take?
it's, they, number one, we build them up. We build them up in our head. We make them way bigger than what
We
they
tell
actually
ourselves
are.
stories, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you start and the little thing pops in, right? Well, they like me, and then it starts building and building, and you find all the reasons that they won't, and you tend to go in the negative direction just naturally. This is what we do as human beings: go in the negative direction naturally. No, then this is all the reasons why they won't, and no, and the story builds up, and eventually, I actually I came up with a new word: drama llama movie. You in your own drama llama movie about this thing. And then by that time, you've scared yourself so much that it becomes almost impossible to see yourself doing this. So first of all, stop the movie.
Mm.
Like, if that thought pops up, go, okay, I see you, and potentially people won't like you, and that's okay. There will be people that like you and people that don't. We're not everybody's cup of tea, no problem. And if you can be okay with that, then you're okay. So for me, it's really starting to break the things down, be very clear, know when you are making it bigger than what it is once you've gone into your story. So that's the minute that you find yourself in your story about something, you're starting to make it bigger than what it is. So come back to the facts, come back to what it is and what it isn't, and then start breaking it down, right? What are the 20% stretches that's going to take you slightly out of your comfort zone,
Right.
so that you can do it in smaller bite-sized chunks, so that it is not so overwhelming. Because the minute when it's massively overwhelming, then you will be in a massive amount of resistance and the less likely to do it. So bring it down, smaller doses. It's taken me, you mentioned talking on video. This has taken me a long time to be comfortable with this. And I say
Mostly
comfortable.
comfortable, right?
And be okay with
Yeah.
not being everyone's cup of tea. It's taken work, but as we go and as we stand more and more behind ourselves, the more and more you become okay with expressing yourself as you are, not feeling like you need to tone something down, being you. And the more you do that, the further you start going. So the fears are there. I would say, just in a very simple, watch if you're making them bigger by adding story to them. And if you find that you are, come back to what is the facts about whatever it is, and then see what is your next move from there. What's the 20% stretch? And try and see around building the fear up any bigger than what it is.
I love that, Jade. That's actually, I'm crying that I love it so much. No, I'm just got a tear in my eye. No, that's actually amazing, and really useful for people just to think, am I doing that? Am I overreacting to this? And then I wanted to add a tip to that. Get those people around you that you could be your friends, your family. If you are part of some sort of a network, then these people are more likely to be, they might be overly positive in some cases, but they can also be quite constructive in their feedback if you ask them. And that's the key thing. So before you go on some large platform, before you go and do a presentation to 1,000 people in a big conference room, practice on those people, practice on your family, practice on your friends, practice in your little network groups, and and ask people for feedback. And that's exactly in the example of the videos what I did. I put a few videos together, sent them to some people and said, what do you think? I got some constructive feedback that at first made me feel that, I thought I did better than that, but but on second thought, it was also because actually you did, I said, I thought I did better than that, what she said. But she also gave some constructive feedback to me that I then implemented in the second version of these videos, or the second time I put some videos together. And you cannot believe how quickly after that it became natural. It's just having, I think, I don't like to refer to them as guinea pigs, but if you've got some new offer that you're going to put out, maybe you're going to do an ebook or a short course that you're just trying out, and you want to put it out on LinkedIn or Facebook Live or something like that. Just invite your friends along so you can have some people who give you that positive feedback. Thanks, Clarissa. It boosts things, and then hopefully there are a few strangers who get involved as well, and then those strangers can become part of your feedback loop as well. So so I really recommend that. It's done wonders for the development of my work. And you sometimes coach groups, right? So what I think you said to me some time ago, that the idea of standing in front of a whole group of people was absolutely terrifying for you a couple of years ago, basically, maybe 4 years ago. And did you do something similar to also just lift above those fears?
So there was a couple of things joining the network that we're in that really supported to stand up, because you stand up, introduce yourself and what you do. So that helped a lot. It's very small doses, and then from there, stepping into a role in the networking organization where there's more speaking, that helped. And then I joined our trainer academy. One of the things that I do for those who are watching is to also train coaches and in personal transformational training. And so that is a gradual build up in the academy. You do certain levels and they gradually build you into delivering certain content. And that was very supportive as well. So, but then I was, volunteered, I think I mentioned last week, into a presentation to 100 people, and I had to do a 10-minute talk, and that was really scary. So sometimes it's just about saying yes, but the gradual build up helped. Then the jump, so going from 20 people to 100.
20%. So it's your 20%. You didn't go to 100. You tested, stretched yourself, and eventually it's just there, and you do it. Yeah.
So, and one of the biggest things, you've mentioned feedback, Linda. It's so important when you're on a path like this. Welcome feedback. Always ask for it to be done in a constructive manner. Because I think that's important for people to learn to give feedback constructively is also a skill. And to ask for constructive feedback is important. So I think don't just say, please give me feedback. Say, please, can you give me constructive feedback? Because you set the context then for the request. So that somebody can actually really have a look at it from a constructive point, and you can even say to them, please let me know what you appreciated, and please let me know what you think needs to be improved. So these are actually these are parameters we teach our coaches actually in supporting them to develop their feedback competencies. So really supporting what it is that was good, and where is their development and growth in whatever it is that's been shared. So that feedback, if you can take that, yes, sometimes feedback is triggering. If it really triggers, you need to have a look at it, because then it's potentially something that is underlying, something that you can work with and actually grow massively from. So if you don't get it, I always say, take what you get, don't take what you don't get. So if it doesn't land, if it kind of like swishes past you and you go,
Mhm.
then leave it, and it's okay.
Yes,
Maybe it's not for you. So, but
exactly.
if it's sitting there and it hits a point, if it hits a sore point, if it hits a, like, you can click to it, then it's something to have a look at. And that, but feedback and integrating from feedback really, really is a
What can you
supportive journey.
learn?
Yeah.
What can you learn from and the entrepreneurial journey to me is just one day after the other is learning. You
Mm.
just continue to learn. I don't think you ever get to a point where you go, right, I've got it, leave me alone, I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
It's like
No,
no, no,
it's
there's something else. There's something else you need to learn, and there's something else, and there's something else, and that's something. Usually, that learning comes from the clients, or the prospects, or
mhm,
discovery sessions you might have, or networking conversations. Suddenly, someone changes your perception, or
mm,
asks you a challenging question, or suggest something that you've never thought of, and literally the networks have been the lifeblood of the business now, because there are people you can speak to, there are people you can ask, there are people you can share with, there are people who can test your stuff, there are people who can provide you with services when you need them, there are people you can outsource to. It's just can you believe I went 35 years without knowing this world existed?
yeah. No,
Not had no clue this world existed. I was just
no,
very
exactly.
insular in my wonderful corporate career, and and my eyes have been opened, and the world is just so much bigger,
Mm,
and
absolutely.
it's just so exciting. So Laurie, we just wishing you
Yeah, I
all of the
wanted to.
best.
She commented here as
Yeah,
well. She had time to plan, like you, Linda,
there's a
and
planner.
taken me nearly 3 years to take the plunge. I finally decided that I just had to jump, or I never exactly. At some point, it's never about being ready, because you'll wait forever to be ready when the conditions are right, and that unfortunately never really happens.
Mm.
She says, "You ladies are such an inspiration. I'm
Ah,
so glad I found this call in my feed this
it was
morning,
meant to
Laurie.
be.
We're
It was
so
meant
glad
to
as well.
be.
Thank you for joining us.
And
It's
Laurie,
so
please,
good to hear."
we're here for you, right? We it's like I always think of these things as the hero's journey, right? We're this hero, and it's like all the Disney movies ever. They're all based on this premise. Where the hero is reluctant to step out of their comfort zone. They don't want to leave the comfortable palace that they've been in, or the swamp, Shrek. It doesn't want to leave, but then along comes something or someone and says, no, 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 but there's an excitement, there's an adventure, there is something that you need to, or he gets pushed out, right? So
Hmm.
taking Shrek as an example, he gets Donkey comes along, and the next thing they're on a flipping quest, right? And so he was reluctant to go along with it, but along the way there was this adventure, and there was danger, and there was romance, if you were looking for that, and the danger was represented by dragons and the king's men chasing after them, and so on and so forth. But there was so much so much to be gained by going on this journey, by going, by having these challenges, by learning new things that he'd never been exposed to before, that at the end, and not really an end, but at the initial end, there's a reward, and there's some wins that have happened, and there's a whole lot of learning, and you've grown from the experience, because you can never go back to that swamp the same person that you left. And then it's, as I say, it's not an end. Then there can be some new adventure that you would go on, and you would learn more and grow more, and so on and so forth. But I really love that hero's journey, because it makes sense. But now Jade and I could well be the guides on the journey. Who's the guide in Shrek? It's like in
It's been a while since I've watched it.
I'm using this analogy now just off the top of my head. You see, we don't prepare for these things.
No.
But I'm thinking, who's the guide on this thing? But now, if we just swap over to something like the Hobbit, or Lord of the Rings, then you get Gandalf as a guide, right? Somebody who's not there for the whole journey, but they come in with some wisdom and some support, like the whole army comes in to support when needed, because he called upon the people he knew to come and assist in the particular quest. And I think, when Jade and I are like Gandalfs, right? We are those people with some wisdom, and we know people that we can call upon to support you in your journey. And if you are still reluctant to leave the swamp, then give us a call, because we can chat you through some of this, or if you know somebody, share this video with them. And if you have made that leap, like Laurie, then it might benefit you to talk to people who are a bit further. And if you're far along the journey, reach back to help others. And that's the empowerment side of it. Reach back. Take a break from your journey and come back a little bit and help someone to come along with you. That's entrepreneurship for you, right? Just in a nutshell.
I love that, actually, Linda. Reach back, because that is, I can't afford. And I think when I started coaching, I thought anyone and everyone, and I just want to help, and I just want to help. But I really see from my journey of doing what I've done, my passion for helping others to do what I've done. So helping them to make this step as well is, there's so much to learn. And one of the other things I wanted to say, just on the topic of feedback, and so not only feedback from others, but developing a reflective practice for yourself. And I know, Linda, that you do it in a form as well, but really developing a reflective practice, whether it's daily or weekly or monthly. How did it go? What did you see? What would you do differently? So really integrating your own feedback to yourself, to support that, and knowing how to actually then self-regulate you, knowing how to give yourself feedback, and develop from that, is also really supportive on this entrepreneurial journey.
That is a wonderful piece of advice. Wonderful piece of advice.
Do you want to share a little bit about what you do, Linda, for your reflective practice?
Yeah. So, in a strict sort of business fashion, every month I set the goals and objectives for the month, in line with my Glee philosophy. And at the end of the month, like today is the end of the month, reflect back, what's gone well, what's not gone well, what can I change, exactly to your point, right? What needs to change to move forward, celebrate the wins, learn from the things that haven't gone right, and recommit with commitment statements to the next month and carry on. So I do that on a monthly basis. I also reflect on a daily basis, in terms of my whole Glee thing as well, is did I eat well, sleep well, exercise well? Did I take some time to reflect? Did I do coaching? Did I inspire someone? So thank you. We inspired someone today, so I can tick that off on my little box. It's a happy face I have in my little boxes. But I want to inspire people, so it's wonderful to know that you do. And I take note of that. And some of the other things, did I dance today? I know these are crazy things. Did I have some fine dining with the husband, or did I go to the theater? So I include life things, not just business things, in my daily reflection. What makes me happy, and then there are more obvious things, like, did I check the financial plan? Did I do the invoicing? Did I reach out to some prospects, have discovery calls? Did I network, etc., etc.? So there's quite a lot of things. And then annually, and I'm sure this is really why you asked me, Jade, annually.
No, not even. Not even.
I'm going to punch you, Jade, now anyway. And annually, for the last 3 years, this has been the most amazing thing. I close out a calendar year with Jade. What do we call those sessions? It's like
completing. So this, Yeah,
Yes.
completing and creating. Completing
Completing and
2021,
creating.
creating 2022.
And I just, so the two sessions, the one's completing, where you literally sort of sit with your plan for the year and say, is it, have I completed what I set out to do? Is there anything left unfinished, business or personal? Is there relationships that I have not dealt with, issues? Is there personal things that I haven't I've ignored them, because these are things that are going to prevent you from moving forward. So we deal with those things. We understand them. We decide, we acknowledge them, and then determine whether there's something to be acted on, or we can acknowledge it and let it go. It's an amazing process that I just love, because it just clears my head. And then I hit the new year, first week of the new year, with Jade going creation of the new plan. And we go through some lovely little exercises that help me just to clarify what was in my mind, and then I can create all those commitment statements, and that trains me through for the whole of the rest of the year. Incredible process. Absolutely recommend it. And I will continue to do it year in, year out, as long as Jade will have me. So thank you for that. I know we've sort of come to our 45-minute areas, and we've talked about making shifts, what's holding you back, what are those corporate shackles, what are those limiting beliefs. Before we rang off, are there any questions from those who have joined us live? We really appreciate you and your time. But if you have any questions, otherwise we will wrap up in the next 30 seconds, 1 minute, and hopefully see you next time.
Yeah. I just also wanted to say, Linda, on the reflective practice, and I think now it's just left me, actually.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I've been waiting for you to finish, and I'm like, I really want to say this, and now it's gone. Oh, well, maybe next time.
You can pop it in the comments.
Yes, no, absolutely. And it's been fantastic, Laurie. Absolutely wish you all of the best for this plunge that you've taken, and know that there are always people to help. All you need to do is ask. That was something I learned. Very independent person here, and I have learned to reach out and ask. Yeah. Thank you, Kevin, for being with us. That was wonderful to have you. And thank you, Laurie. Fantastic having you.
Clarissa.
And Clarissa. I'm not sure she's still with us. She did say well done to Laurie, so that's there as well. So yeah, we'll see you sometime soon again when we decide we're going to do another one.
Yeah. Let you know. Watch the space.
Bye for now.